In the previous class, we have discussed about the terms. Example, we have started with that first term data, then next we have learned information, then hardware, software, its types and users. These are all the terms we have discussed in the previous class. So once again, I will revive that definition, then we move on to the next one. That is data. Data is a collection of facts, figures, or statistics which have some definite meaning. The next term, information. The processed data is called as information. Next term, hardware. All the physical parts or components of a computer is called as hardware. The next term, software. A program or programs is called as software. Next, program. What is a program? A set of instructions is called a program, or a group of commands is called a program. Then softwares are classified into two types. One is called system software. Second one is called as application software. Then last term we have discussed, that is users. The people who uses the computers are known as users. For example, end users, we all, then software developers, system analysts, then administrators. These are all users. So after knowing these terms, today we'll start with the heading called as the functional components of a computer. Functional components of a computer. It is also called as the block diagram of a computer. Block diagram of a computer, computer diagram. So before starting that computer diagram, block diagram, or the functional components of computer, after knowing what is computer, we check out the functions of the computer. What the computer does? Computer accepts data or instructions. This is step number one. Computer takes data or instructions. Then second, it stores whenever it is required, that can be retrieved back for processing. Second is over. The third, you can process the instructions or data. Once the data are processed, then it is going to generate information. Using that information, you can communicate. These are the functions done by a computer. So based on the functions of the computer, the functional components are broadly classified into, you can say that instead of, some will say 4, but I'll go with 3. Right? The number one is called as input, Second one is called as process, and third one is output. I'll go with 3. But some will say that there are 4 means that is also correct. That is, the fourth one is memory. If you count as a separate unit as a memory, then there are 4 units. Right? So to discuss under the heading called as functional components of the computer or the block diagram of a computer. Now, according to the definition of computer, we all know now, that is, computer is an electronic device which takes input, processes it, and gives meaningful output. It means in the definition we are coming across 3 terms. Using that 3 terms, today we complete the functional components of computer or the block diagram of computer. That is, the number 1 is called as input, number 2 is called as process, number 3 is output. So why it is given as a block diagram? Because we are not drawing exact computer. With the help of blocks, we are completing the functional components of computer, that block diagram of computer. With the help of blocks, by using blocks, we are explaining the diagram of computer. That's why it is called as block diagram of a computer. Now, start that. First, what we need? I need 3 boxes. 1, 2 and 3. Third one. I draw first 3 boxes. Then this will write it as input. Then last I go, that is output, third block, and this block we are writing it as process. It means you have completed input, process, output. According to the computer definition, what you learned in the first class, right? So now again, this process block is divided into 3 more components. First, there are 3 blocks. Then again, I am dividing this process block into 3 parts. That is, I'll go with this. 1 second. Right? The process block is divided into 3 parts or 3 components. Then you have to connect these 3 in a bi-direction. Right? Then one more I am drawing here, connection. Then I will connect here with single wire. This process, we can write it as CPU, right? CPU. So The diagram is completed. This is the block diagram of computer, or you can say that the functional components of the computer. So based on this, you may get one lesson type questions in your exams. Explain the block diagram of computer or explain the functional components of a computer. Normally we get the block diagram of computer or computer diagram with a neat label diagram. Explain the block diagram of computer with a neat label diagram. First you have to draw this, then you can start with the explanation. So we'll start with the first one, input. What is input? The user given data or instructions to the computer are called as input. I'll repeat. What is an input? The user given data or instructions to the computer are called as input. User andre ನಾವು ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಕಮಾಂಡ್ ಅನ್ನು ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ ಅದು ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ನಾವು ಕೊಡುವಂಥದ್ದು ನಾವೇನೇ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟರು ಕೂಡ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ದ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ದ ಯೂಸರ್ ಗಿವನ್ ಡೇಟಾ ಆರ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಟು ದ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ಪುಟ್. So next, after knowing this, input is over. What is input we know? Right? Then next one is input devices. What are input devices then? After knowing what is input, what are input devices? The devices using which we can feed data or instructions to the computer are called as input devices. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಯಾವ ಯಂತ್ರಗಳನ್ನ ರೈಟ್ ಉಪಯೋಗ ಮಾಡಿ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ಗೆ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನ ಕೊಡ್ತೀವೋ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವೆಂತ ಕರಿತಾ ಇದೀವಿ? ಇನ್ಪುಟ್ ಡಿವೈಸ್ ಅಂತ. ಅದನ್ನ ಹೆಂಗ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ? ದ ಡಿವೈಸಸ್ using which we can give or we can feed data or instructions to the computer are called as input devices. Example, after this, the examples: keyboard, mouse, etc. Keyboard, mouse, etc. I have taken only two here. Many are there. Many input devices are available. Example: keyboard, mouse, joystick, OMR, OCR, MICR, voice recognizer, right? Like that, many you will get. Even barcoders, right? Digital pens are there, digitizers, clear up? But at least we should remember the commonly used input devices, that is keyboard and mouse. ಇವೆರಡು ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಅಂದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಇವೆರಡು ಇದ್ದೇ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಮುಂದ್ಗಡೆ ಕೀಬೋರ್ಡ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಮೌಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So easy to remember. Even scanners are there, right? Input devices. So input devices are keyboard, mouse, etc. Then what are the functions of input devices? The input devices gives the user instructions to the computer. By using input devices, the user is giving instructions to the computers. This is a task performed by any input device. If you want to type the text, then you can use the standard input device known as keyboard. If you want to select or if you want to draw, then you can go with another input device called as mouse. Suppose I want my photo inputted to the computer, then from first to two it is not possible. Through keyboard and mouse it is not possible. Then I need a scanner. Using scanner, I can scan my photo and input that to the computer. That's why, depends on the requirements, we have different types of different input devices are available. The functions differs. Some will input the text, some will input the voice, some will input the images, right? Depending on situation, the required input device can be used. But the most commonly used input devices are keyboard and mouse. It means through input devices, we are feeding data or instruction to the CPU. Can I expand CPU? The expansion of CPU is Central Processing Unit. Central Processing Unit is CPU. Central Processing Unit. Then the first block is completed. Now we know what is input, what are input devices, and what is the function of that, and the examples are completed. We know about this first block. Now we move on to the second block. That is CPU, Central Processing Unit. The Central Processing Unit is further divided into three more blocks called as MU, CU, and ALU. Here, MU stands for memory unit, CU stands for control unit, and ALU stands for arithmetic logic unit. ALU, arithmetic logic unit. CU, control unit. MU, memory unit. All the three units are interconnected with the help of bidirectional arrows. And if you observe, one more extra connection is given for in between MU and ALU, to and fro. Now, the CPU of the computer is considered as the brain of the computer. CPU of a computer is called as brain of a computer, because it performs all the operations. Now, we start with one by one. What is the use of memory unit here? What is the function? What the memory unit does? MU stands for memory unit. The memory unit is used to store our data or instructions either temporarily or permanently. It means in computers we have two types of memories. One memory is used for storing our data and instructions temporarily, and another memory is used for storing our data and instructions permanently. It means The main task of memory unit is used to store our data, instruction, even information into the computer's memory for future use. Whenever you want, you can retrieve back once it is stored in computer's memory. Once you store your information or data into the computer's memory, unless and until you delete it, it will not erase from the computer's memory. Right? In case of permanent memory. The memories are broadly classified into primary memory and secondary memory. If your data or instructions are stored in primary memory, then they are temporary. When you store your data or instructions or information into the secondary memory, then that is permanent memory. Until unless you can erase it, it will not erase automatically. But in case of primary memories, the data, instructions, or even information should be erased automatically. Then, next one, control unit. CU stands for control unit. The name itself stating that this unit is going to control each and every operations performed by the computer. The computer ella ಕೆಲಸವನ್ನು control ಮಾಡೋರು ಯಾರು ಅಂದ್ರೆ that is the control unit. The control unit controls and coordinates, right, the functions of the computers. Each and every operation or each and every function will be controlled and coordinated by a unit called as control unit. That is CU. The next one, ALU. That is arithmetic logic unit. Arithmetic logic unit. Again, from the name only you can add the meaning of that. This unit is going to perform any type of calculations. The ALU performs all the arithmetic operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And it also performs the logical operations like and, or, not. This unit is responsible for performing any type of calculation. That's why we have connected memory to ALU. Whatever the data or instructions stored in the memory, that will be sent to ALU for processing purposes. Calculation purpose. If there is any calculation part, then the controller will give directions to the MU that you can send that particular problem to the ALU. Then in the meanwhile, it sends directions or control signals to the ALU also to receive the data from the memory unit and perform the required operations. Both the units will be sending the control signals. Once both the units receive the control signals from the control unit, it sends the data to the ALU and ALU performs the required operation. Once the operation is completed, again it receives the control signals from the control unit back. The completed task will be sent it back to MU. Again, ALU sends the output, generated output to the memory unit, right? Then the data along with the result generated will be stored in memory again. It means if you observe here, when you feed data or instruction to the computer, that will be directly stored into the memory. Then, depends on the type of data, control name takes the respective actions. Once the process is completed, our data and instructions are stored in memory. Again, by receiving the control signal from the control unit, the MU sends the data and the generated results to the output unit. This completes the second block known as CPU. Now, we move on to the third block. That is output. What is an output? It is exactly opposite of the first term, that is input. Input opposite is output. What is output? The informations which we are getting from the computer is called as output. The informations which we are getting from a computer is known as output. Right? Computer ನಾವು ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಪಡಿತೀವೋ ಅವೆಲ್ಲದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನಂತ ಕರೀತಾ ಇದೀವಿ ನಾವು ಔಟ್ಪುಟ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತೀವಿ. ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಯಾವುದೇ ನಾವು ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಪಡೆಯೋದು ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಔಟ್ಪುಟ್. ನೀವು 10th ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿದ್ದೀನ, ಯು ಗಾಟ್ ಔಟ್ಪುಟ್. ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ದಟ್ ಔಟ್ಪುಟ್. Then what are output devices? We know now what is output. We know. After knowing what is output, next question arises, that is what are output devices? Output device andre the devices using which we can get the information from a computer is known as output device, or are called as output devices. I'll repeat. The devices using which we can get the information from a computer are called as output devices. ಯಾವ ಯಂತ್ರಗಳ ಸಾಧನದಿಂದ, ರೈಟ್, ಯಾವ ಯಂತ್ರಗಳಿಂದ ನಾವು ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ನ ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಪಡಿತೀವೋ ಅಂತ ಎಲ್ಲ ಯಂತ್ರಗಳಿಗೆ ಏನಂತ ಕರೀತಾ ಇದೀವಿ ನಾವು ಔಟ್ಪುಟ್ ಡಿವೈಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾ ಇದೀವಿ. ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಇರುತ್ತೆ? ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಮಾನಿಟರ್, right? Printer. Monitors and printers are the examples of output devices. ಇವೆರಡೇ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಇವನ್ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಇದಾವ, ರೈಟ್? ಪ್ಲಾಟರ್ ಅಂತ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. Even your speakers are also speaker ಕೂಡ output device. ನೋಡಿ, ಇವತ್ತು ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಿರೋದು ಏನು? ಫಂಕ್ಷನಲ್ ಕಾಂಪೊನೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಎ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್, ರೈಟ್? In this input device, the standard input device is keyboard. Keyboard is called as the standard input device, and monitor, right? Monitor is the standard output device. We'll revise once. What is an input? The user given data or instructions to the computer is known as input. What are input devices? The devices using which we can feed data or instruction to the computer are called as input devices. Example: keyboard, mouse, text scanner, disguiser, etc. And the standard input device is keyboard. Next comes CPU. CPU stands for Central Processing Unit. Central Processing Unit. This CPU is known as brain of the computer. The CPU is broadly classified into three more components known as MU, CU, and ALU. Memory unit, control unit, and arithmetic logic unit. The MU unit is responsible for storing data, instructions, and even the information into it, either temporarily or permanently, depends on the user instructions. Then, control unit. This unit is going to control and coordinate each and every operation performed by the computer. Then ALU, arithmetic logic unit. This unit is responsible for performing any type of calculations. For example, the arithmetic operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, and the logical operations like and or not. Then after that, we learn output. The information which we are getting from a computer is called as output. Then what are output devices? The devices using which we can get the information from a computer are called as output devices. Example: monitor, printer, plotter, speakers, etc. Right? Then monitor is the standard output device. Right? This is all about the functional components of a computer or the block diagram of a computer. And related to memory, one more term we will get, that is registers. Right? Registers. What are registers? Registers are the temporary storage units. Registers are the temporary storage units. Means that is also a memory, but that stores temporarily. That is called as register. And its capacity is also very less. A small storage unit it is. That is called as registers. Then, after knowing the functional components of a computer, in the next class, we will start with the heading called as the evolution of computer, or you can say that the history of computer. You might be knowing that. Just you can, if you know, fine. If you don't know anything about that, means just you can check out that when the computer history started, from which device. And one more question I'll ask today so that you can get it that answer from by tomorrow. That is, which is the first calculating device? Which is the first recorded calculating device? Yav yantra calculation first time use madidru antu. Calculation madake use madanta first machine yavdu? One question. And second question, when the history of computer began? Computer history exactly yavag start agittu? Yaar start madidru? Then computer na develop madidru yaru? then we'll end with who is called as the first program. ಇವಿಷ್ಟನ್ನು ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದಾವ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ದ ಎವಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಆಫ್ ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ಸ್ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್, ರೈಟ್? ಸೊ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಡೌಟ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ವೆಬಿನಾರ್ ಫೋರಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡೌಟ್ ಹಾಕಿ, ಐ ವಿಲ್ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಫಾರ್ ದಟ್, ರೈಟ್? ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಒನ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಆಲ್.